calling to order. I'm calling to order the March 12th, 2024 BOZA meeting. This is a meeting of the Board of Zoning Adjustment. And actually tonight we don't have any items. We're actually here to have a public meeting discussion about some things for City Council. So who's in charge?
Okay.
Well, I don't know if you want to do approval of November meeting minutes.
Do you want to do that
time?
now or at the end?
Oh, up to you guys. Sorry, I forget the order of operations.
I'm just, you know what, my order is we can certainly do it. I mean, if that's
Did
easy.
you send the minutes though? I missed
Did
it.
I
I'm
send
sorry.
I believe Thomas sent out, and I could be
Oh.
wrong on that. Thomas sent out minutes.
I missed that. Sorry.
I might have missed that too. So why don't we go on to the agenda item, and in the interim, let's make sure we all have a copy of the minutes and we review it so that we can approve at the end. How does that sound?
I actually don't think, I think I was under the impression you guys had the minutes before I put them on the agenda, but I didn't send out the actual file of the minutes.
Okay,
Oh,
They are really brief though. I could send those out right now.
that'd be great. And then I have one thing I want to say is that I have this tiny possibility of a doctor calling, and I've already missed his call once. So if I have to go, I'm gonna have, you'll see me mute and we'll go from there. Thank you.
I think Thomas did, I got minutes from the email that you sent out last week. So I
really?
think you actually did send them out. Because I'm looking at them and
Yeah, it was just a link.
Let's double check.
Well, I'll let him double check that, and also just real quick while we're at it, you guys haven't met Thomas. Thomas started with us. I'll just introduce him really quick if that's okay with you all. Thomas Remke is our new board specialist. He's joined the city in December, and so you guys will be seeing him in all of your meetings from here forward.
Hi, everyone. Great to meet you.
hi, Thomas.
Nice to meet you. I'm not seeing the minutes in my email, so I.
So you did get an email from Thomas, and there was a link to the meeting packet, and within that link, the packet is where the minutes are found. So
Yeah,
you have to click on the link.
Well, I'm seeing an email yesterday with the link to the Zoom, but not.
There was
Try-
an email last week though, too.
Friday the 8th at 1:45 p.m. about.
Really?
Yeah,
The
They're there. I have them. It's within the notice, just like he said. There's a
title of that email is 3/12/24 meeting packet. If
Yeah.
that helps
I
you to
don't
find it.
have it. I really don't think I have it.
We can
you want
send
to
it
give
to
me
you.
your email address separately, I can.
I can also share screen and we can review the minutes together.
Yeah, I don't have that email.
Maureen, I'll forward it to you right now. That way we can move on with the agenda.
Sorry.
Great. So I think so just to provide you guys, so we did send out an email just kind of letting you know I think about the prompt from City Council. They invited you all to share your top 2 or 3 community issues or opportunities on your mind, and or the top 2 to 3 items on your group's existing work plan for council awareness ahead of their annual retreat. So just to provide a little bit of background and context, last year council did not prompt this letter. And so none of the boards and commissions sent a letter out last year. But typically this annual letter is done in like the December timeframe because council typically has their retreat in like late January, but it's a little different this year. So council is having their annual retreat on April 3rd and 4th. So that's why we're kind of getting, if in case you were wondering why this letter is, why we're asking you about it now and why the prompt is coming in March, that's just a little bit of background on it. So this time, I know that you guys don't meet very frequently, and so they've asked for this feedback by next Friday, March 22nd, which I know is not a lot of time for you guys to to get something put together. And you don't have, you know, but there's not another opportunity to review as a board altogether. So just as some suggestions that other boards have done, since that maybe other boards that only meet like monthly, like you guys do, is to nominate one or two board members to write up this letter. Erin can help me out with just the logistics of, you know, you can't like reply all and work on it all together. Otherwise that invokes, you know, an open meeting and we'd have to notice it again. You'd have to, so there's those kinds of rules too, of not having more than two board members, conversing at once. So I'm not sure if you guys have thought about this since that email went out. And if you have some ideas for some of your top items that you'd like to discuss.
Does it have to be topics pertaining to BOZA jurisdiction, or can it be about anything? That's what I wasn't clear about.
I echo that question.
Yeah, same.
I believe it's generally what you see as a board with your jurisdiction, but Amanda, I don't know if there was different directions given this
Yeah.
year or.
Because I mean, we could go in many directions.
Right.
Like the homeless, yeah, for
And
starters.
I don't
Yeah.
know that we're gonna agree.
Right, I think it's
I-
generally like the scope of your business as a board. What if anything, are you seeing that you want to make council aware of? Like I know in the past boards have written about changing the criteria.
And the way it was worded was its council has asked all boards, commissions, and panels to share top 2 or 3 community issues or opportunities on your mind and or the top 2 or 3 items on your group's existing work plan. So I think they do want it to be focused on from a BOZA mindset. If there is anything, that's the other part.
I could interpret that differently. When it says the top community issues.
Mhm.
I'm not saying it related to the
Yeah,
board.
and it's subjective too. So yeah, like it could definitely be a very broad.
But I think we've seen many requests to ease parking regulations lately, and where garages, for example, have been converted in the, I don't know, 60s to 80s or even later. And we've been requested to approve that variance. I think we could say something towards, you know, easing that requirement maybe, or because we've approved them all the time.
Maureen, I'm with you. That was what exactly was on my mind, was easing this rule about parking in the front yard setback. Because people do
Yeah.
it all the time anyway. It's totally not enforced. So it seems ridiculous.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, that was
I
one of
don't
my
know.
2 topics as well.
What was the other one, Drew?
The combined side yard setback, but we can get into that later.
Okay.
But yeah, completely agree. I mean, one of my ideas along those lines is, I mean, frankly, the requirement, I think it's 10 feet wide for a car's parking space. And that's just not enough for a garage anyway. So like we had I think in the June meeting, we had one of these questions of if the person can park in their front yard. They're saying that their garage is just not wide enough to accommodate a car. And it's true. It should be classified as an existing parking spot. So yeah, I think this is something that should be raised.
So I think my question, Katie, do you agree? Are you on board with that?
Yeah, yeah.
So one question is, who can write something up? Because I'm gonna have to decline that role because I'm swamped right now. So could Maureen and Drew work on a draft of that? It's not a lot. I mean, it's really 2 or 3 sentences.
And so we would, just so we're clear, we would ask to ease parking requirement in front yards, or is that enough? Or,
So we could write it now. That's the other alternative because it's really simple. And Aaron, you could help us because we don't probably know the right legal terminology to use.
Yeah.
And I know that there's, Robbie's got his hand up. So let's,
Do we have an example of our last letter, Thomas or Amanda? Because I think that would help us kind of draft whatever we're working towards.
Yeah, I was just gonna suggest that, and I was gonna look and see if we can find in our files.
like from
Let me,
2
let
years
let me
ago,
do some looking.
I'm
I think a
sure.
couple years ago, the board did one and it wasn't a huge letter, but it had a few very specific points.
But I don't think any of it was parking in the setback, was it?
I don't believe so, no.
I have one from 2018. One from 2021.
21 sounds like the
Mhm.
last one.
That would have been maybe one of the last ones. Let's see.
The letter to council on 12/17/2020. This one looks like it's for review. Well, it sounds like they're going with it, so.
I guess the question is, would you, Robbie, or be able to help us word it out so it's legally, or I don't know, it's per the code, I guess.
Can you let me share my screen, please?
Oh, yes, let's make you a co-host, Jill. And then I also found a 2022 letter, if that's helpful.
That's what I have, is it, or
Oh, that's what
2020,
you have. Oh, 22.
you have a
Okay.
22 that's done, okay. So I can share the 2021, we can see what it says. Can you see that?
Yep.
Yes.
And all my other tabs that are open. So I still don't, for me, I don't have any feeling about writing this introductory paragraph. That was Jack. I think I'd just be matter of fact. In response to your inquiry, please note the following. And none of this is other than this parking right here. Variance requests. And then do you want to share the one that's from 2022, Amanda?
I mean, it seems too that now that I'm reading those older letters, it seems that they haven't done anything about anything that we've asked before. So we might as well repeat, right? We could repeat what we've asked before.
So I think it's better to ask for something specific. Because when it's general, there's nothing they can do with it. But if there's something specific that we have, in this case, this is specific, just like with ADUs, it was specific.
Yeah.
I think you get a better possibility of seeing something happen. General things, they may think they are addressing all those things.
But wasn't the letter you showed talking about development in non-conforming lots and easing the requirements on the, I guess, the setback requirements on those?
Well, I mean, so what is your question though?
Well, we could ask again that they ease the setback requirements on non-conforming lots. That's fairly specific, right?
I have no problem with it. I just, I think if you're going to talk about parking,
Yeah.
ask, consider the parking variance, parking the front yard setback has nothing to do with non-conforming lots.
Right, yes, there are two separate issues.
Yeah. So I don't have any problem myself doing those things. We just have to ask everybody on the board if that's what they feel like they want to bring up. And it sounds like Drew has something else. Katie, what
Yeah.
do you, any feelings or?
No, not really.
Is what, oh, good. It's what was exactly shown in that letter? I didn't quite read it fast enough. What was the Maureen, what was the previous?
Well, I don't have it either, but I think it was talking about setbacks for non-conforming lots.
It says, it is not unusual to find non-conforming residential building lots and residences scattered within the fabric of older Boulder neighborhoods. These lots were defined in earlier times and in some cases were defined prior to current zoning criteria. As Boulder evolves, we are seeing a trend of new owners purchasing non-conforming properties with the intent of expanding, remodeling, and improving the original structures. Many times these improvements require allowing a request for variance through the BOZA process. Variance requests may include approval of non-standard setbacks, building heights, density, mass, bulk, floor area, solar access, and parking. These types of variance requests are complex. Neighbors can be unduly impacted by the approved structures. It just bringing it to their attention. We feel solutions to these issues do not reflect a broader range of goals pursued by City Council. I mean, to me, it's not really.
It has no specifics, right? It
Okay,
doesn't give them any direction.
yeah, never
so
mind then.
When I read it, I'm like, I remember saying, okay, Jack, whatever you want to write, and kind of rolling over on it, because that was kind of his thing. And I tend to be really pragmatic and really specific when I'm asking for something.
Did city council previously, I mean, is it their practice to respond to any of these letters from the various boards?
No, it's more they take in the information when considering work plan. Like I imagine, like I've heard that at some point there may be Title IX revisions, so these might be added to the list of things to consider when there is a bigger revision going.
And I do know that in the past, at least quite a few years ago, sometimes this board would bring up ADU variances. And more recently, we've had a lot of significant ADU standard changes to the point where we're not even seeing those variances come in. So that's an example of is the board, I believe, in past letters prior to 2020 did bring up ADU variances specifically. Nothing suggesting, this is the way it should be, but just bringing the idea up. And here we are a few years later and council has enacted new ADU standards. So that's just an example of sometimes these topics are brought to their attention and it evolves into something more substantial.
Well, I can think of specific examples with the garage. It's like Drew said, in South Boulder, Martin Acres, I know of 2 houses where the garage is too narrow. I mean, it probably wasn't too narrow, I guess, originally, but now they're like 9 or 10 feet wide and it's really hard to open a door. And you can do it if it's small, it's just sort of, well, you could argue, well, they should have a smaller car, I suppose. And this is one of those complex things where, the city had this thing where they're going to put less garages and therefore we'll have less cars. This is a philosophical issue where I don't think you can document that offering people less parking spaces reduces their use of cars. Offering mass transit likely that's effective and efficient probably reduces the people dependency on cars. But I don't know. I like people having a place to park, but in those Martin Acres tract homes, I saw one a couple weeks ago has no garage at all. And there's plenty of them have no garages. So, and no driveway, no place for anybody to park off street anyway. Drew,
So-
you're
Yeah, I guess, should we just share a screen and put bullet points to what we want to say?
I think-
Uh,
yeah.
I don't know. Maureen, how do you,
Yeah, I can do that. Let me.
I don't know if you want, you're leaving the board, right?
I am. No, I'm not.
No?
This is my last board meeting. I didn't even know my term was ending.
Oh, you're done.
I think I am. Did
Possible.
they find someone?
I can fill y'all in after that. It
Okay,
may,
okay,
may
anyway.
or may not be.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll see. But anyway, I'm gonna start with the older letter.
The one for the one I just read.
From
So just
2020.
to let you know, that is the letter actually that I have, sorry. It does say on it in our files, the 2022 letter because it was submitted as part of the 2022 council retreat and letter to council, even though it was dated December 2021.
So,
the one before that I think was better.
I just changed the date.
See if I can find the other one.
Okay.
My email, it just, when you boot it up, it took over my screen.
So you're saying to remove this and
Well, I
say,
guess maybe as an intro, it might be worth just saying what BOZA does. I bet council has no idea, for most people.
you
It might
think?
not. I don't know. What do you think?
I think they should know, especially since they're appointing now. So they've been reviewing applications.
Okay. They,
Though some are more familiar than others, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know that I disagree with Drew. I mean, I think, you know,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
well, I just feel like one of the issues is that, so let me share, can I share for a second, Maureen?
Yeah.
So I have this other letter and I can always forward it, I guess, if,
I can start from your letter too.
I just sent you all the last 2 years, the 2021 and the 2022 letter in your emails and to the BOZA email.
okay, so is this one, did you send the 2020? Is that what you're saying? This one?
Yes, sorry, that one. Mhm.
So, I think this language is better for me. I don't think we need the second paragraph. But we just said, I mean, please find a response. And then we're probably not adjusting. I mean, I just felt like this letter was more helpful
Okay. So,
and pointed. We got our answer around ADUs that got taken care of. Nobody does the subcommittee, so it won't matter. So, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't need to be this long.
yeah,
So if you have it, I'll drop it off.
I have it, yeah.
But Drew, do you want to give a stab at drafting what you would want to say? Because I thought you said that well.
on the parking spot?
Yeah, I mean, I think Maureen maybe can you write what he says?
Yes. 1 sec, Drew, hold your thoughts.
Your last acts.
Okay, let me share my screen. Okay. So. Go ahead, Drew.
Yes. We've received multiple variance requests to parking in the front yard setback. At least this year, I mean, I've only been on the board for 1 year, but both of them were unanimously agreed to approve. So let's see. Yeah, you're just taking notes. That's great. We feel that we can reduce administrative burden by changing these rules to allow parking in the front yard setback
By right.
by right.
You might want to point out that people park in the front yard setback all the time and there's no enforcement.
And I actually, then I was going to say, maybe have like a bullet point list of,
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of those is that, people park in the front yard setback, which is actually not allowed, right, Robbie? It's something about if it's going into a garage or not. that correct?
That is true. And funny thing is recently we have completely revised where ADU specific parking spaces, you can now park in the front yard. So this is actually fresh on council's mind, the whole idea of parking. So this is good timing, but yeah, we still prohibit parking in the front yard. That does not lead to conforming off-street parking, which is usually in the way of a garage.
Yeah. I would start off with, it is currently illegal, right? To park in the front, in the 25 feet closest to the curb.
To park where, sorry, Andrew?
Okay, like how big is the front yard setback? I guess it depends on the zoning.
But you're asking a question too, right? At the same, so Robbie is asking you to confirm that it's illegal.
And I was thinking, sorry, my pause was me thinking. We do not permit for someone to provide their required parking in the front yard setback. It's not that it's flat out illegal to park in your driveway. It's just that can't count as your required parking.
Okay,
Oh.
so they can't get a ticket. I mean, obviously no one's getting tickets for this, but
Yeah, and it's to say that it's not being enforced, I don't know would be completely correct. It's just not something that is easily enforced, I guess you could say. Because they are enforcing, if somebody reports it, they're going to go out and look at it and take action accordingly. But everybody's doing it, like you said, so it's not something that's unique to the community. So yeah, just the wording, we just want to be, or you just want to be careful with how it's worded, because the code does allow it for ADUs, but not for principal residences.
So is that the way I worded it? Front yard setback parking is currently not considered as a conforming parking space?
Let's see.
Can you read? I can make that bigger.
I don't want to say parking in the front yard landscape setback is currently not.
Not spaced. That's funny.
Cannot currently be used as principal parking, required principal parking.
Parking in front of the landscape setback cannot currently.
Be used or count towards principal parking requirements. So like I said, they just changed all the ADU stuff to where you can park if it's specific to an ADU, which makes it very hard for us to enforce.
Okay.
That's
So,
good.
yeah, and then people would conform to the new ADUs parking requirement, and then people parking the front yard setback, whether already, I guess. So let's see, a driveway is not, so we're not talking about driveways going into garages. Or are we?
well, my understanding is that it is against the rules to park in a driveway that does not go to a garage in the front yard setback,
So
What?
that's
which is crazy.
Is that true, Robbie?
So as it's worded right now for your principal, and I keep saying principal because I'm separating the ADU part out of it, unless it leads to conforming parking, which usually is in a garage or on the side of the house, then you're not supposed to park in your driveway if it doesn't lead to conforming parking. So that is correct.
Okay, so probably we need that language in there.
yeah.
Basically, if you have conforming parking, you have more parking in your driveway. And if you don't have conforming parking, you can't park.
That's
Not
very true.
so we need to kind of explain that and how that doesn't make any sense, because people do it all the time anyway, and then it prevents people from actually using their property how they could use it.
Okay. I'm gonna take all this off, right? We don't wanna keep any of this.
And maybe, like we could have like a bullet point, like current situation and then potential solutions. Something like that. Like your current bullets are the current situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think the ADU thing is already enacted, right?
I believe so, yeah.
There? So
Oh,
you,
no,
remove-
the bullet point you copy down into the solutions.
yeah, that, so you remove this one, right? Is that what you,
Well, I think that's the current situation.
oh,
It does conform. Or, yeah, we have to work on the wording.
no,
It
I
seems like-
think the solution is to align the requirements for ADUs and for principals, right?
Or almost say could conform to the new ADUs parking requirements if council were to move forward with making changes.
So what are the changes that we're asking, I guess?
I would say that it should be allowed. I mean, I guess I don't know the consequences of it. I mean, parking in the front yard setback, front yard landscape setback.
So what if we said something like this? And Eric may have to help. So fundamentally, the only time that this issue comes to the council or to BOZA is when somebody is trying to modify their existing structure and cannot meet this issue of providing off-street parking outside of the landscape setback. Is that a fair restatement?
That's when it comes to us, yes.
However, people are parking in their setback all day long, whether or not it leads to a garage. It is fundamentally a rule that only comes up when someone wants to make change. But so the question is it accomplished? What is the goal? Maybe we approach it from that standpoint. What's the goal of this rule? I mean, I assume it was to try to keep cars off the street. But I don't know, Robbie, what is the goal? Is it some suburban myth that we won't have any cars out in front of our houses?
Is the goal maybe to lessen the burden of people trying to utilize existing driveways to count towards their parking? I mean, because right now they would have to get a variance to do that. And as was mentioned, all the variances, at least recently, that have gone to BOZA have been them doing work to another part of the house that triggered us saying, well, you got to meet your parking, and they don't have a garage. We actually have criteria specific to garage conversions because of that. So I think it's more of a maybe, and I'm just speculating at this point, maybe to lessen the burden of people wanting to provide parking on their property by allowing it in driveways or just in the front yard landscape setback in general.
And I guess what I'm saying is it's de facto. It's just not, it's only enforced in the small fraction of people that apply to the city to change their house. And the rest of the time, everybody parks in their driveway all day long. So I
And
guess,
then they probably go back to parking in the front yard setback as soon as they get through those.
Because with enforcement, we don't go around actively looking for people parking in driveways. Even our enforcement team doesn't do that. It comes through building permits or enforcement cases that are reported. And that's why it seems very selective, and there's not a great number of them out there.
so I guess that's why is it selective? Is it discriminatory? Is it, it just doesn't seem like it's even handed. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. It's like, okay, thanks, Drew, for nodding. I'm like, how do you say to them, either institute a law that says nobody can park in their driveway or let everybody park in their driveway. And as long as you can have one off-street parking spot, regardless of whether it's in the garage, in the driveway, I don't know, something like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I don't think you have to fully bake the solution here. I mean, really, I think what you're trying to do with the letter is to light a fire under council to realize this is a problem. Because, anytime someone goes into Title IX for changes, it's a big deal. So, it's not like they're going to take a letter and they're going to pass an ordinance next week with it exactly as you lay it out. So I think describing the problem, and if any solutions that you think might be appropriate, but I don't think you have to drill down into the minutia, because honestly, it will have a huge public process to change anything in Title IX.
And another solution could be to just reduce the number of required off-street parking spaces.
Well,
Not specific to the different zoning districts.
my dwellings, it's one. So you can't reduce it from one.
Yeah.
I think what Maureen, what you're trying to say is maybe reduce having to provide parking in general.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah.
Off-street parking.
Right, but I think that's a little, I think that actually is a divisive issue, right now.
Yes.
Correct.
Well, yes, but as a board, if we agree, we could say whatever opinion we have. I guess that's what they're asking. They're asking for our opinion. They're not.
Yeah. Well, I guess, I personally feel like my neighbors should have a parking spot on their land to take, because there's not street parking where I live. So like, I guess, I don't agree that there should be zero requirement everywhere.
What's the regulation, Robbie, about adding a driveway on your property?
Which regulation?
What's the code saying about adding a driveway? So you, instead of one driveway on single family houses, properties. About...
One
So
curb.
you can have one point of access, one curb cut and driveway. You have to go through like a special variance process through Public Works to have two. And then also it's preferred that it's taken off the lesser intense street. So if you have an alley and a street, the city's going to want you to take it off the alley. Again, there are like modifications to that you can take. So right now it's one per property, but that can be modified accordingly.
Okay.
So I was thinking, I don't agree that there should be zero parking. I think what we're trying to go for is that individual parking can be met either in a garage or by parking in the front yard setback. Maybe that's a simpler way to say it.
Yeah.
If you have the garage, fine, that meets it. If you don't have a garage or you don't have a usable garage, if you can demonstrate that, then you have that single off-street parking in the setback. I don't know what you guys think, but that feels reasonable to me. I do not want to go for, I think I'm understanding Drew to say you don't want to go for zero parking, and I agree, right? We're in the same. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, you still should have some place to park one car.
Okay. Parking count requirement.
Yeah, I think the question
be
at
met.
hand. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
I mean, I think that what you're trying to avoid is people parking all their 5 cars in the front yard, right? They don't want that. But, you know, if you have one or two cars, I mean, do you have to put down, you can have one or two cars, what if people pour or put a side drive that they can park on, which plenty of people do. I mean, I don't answer to this stuff, I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah. No, I think we just need to highlight this to council as something that's not consistently enforced, like kind of what you're getting at, Jill, is that it's not fairly enforced. And you know, should it be allowed that people can park in their front yard? That's not for us to say.
I like that. Yeah. I like using the word lack of consistency in the law, you know, however you guys want to say that part.
Yeah, I think that's good to highlight.
And then Maureen, you'll take out the second two paragraphs of the intro, right?
Yes,
It was only relevant to that time period in that letter. We
this,
did the language. No, the first one you can leave. The first sentence can stay. The second two sentences, which are right there,
you don't want to remind them what BOZA does?
where it says, we adjusted the language of your original topics.
Oh, sorry.
And we believe that goes out because that's not relevant to right now. There you go. Thank you.
I just noticed one other thing. You have Dear Mayor Weaver and Aaron Brockett's the mayor now.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, you'll want to change the date, March 20, whatever you're doing.
So
Have editors while you're typing on screen, right?
Yeah, you know, when people look at your screen, you can't actually type it. And this will probably go via email, right? Yes.
but I guess from the editing perspective, like let's say me and Maureen are in charge of this. I mean, can we have Aaron and Robbie correct it? Or
Yeah, and usually they send out a final draft anyway for everybody to look at. So I'm totally fine with that. I think it's a great place to leave it. It just seems like there's a couple things in there that maybe you need to fix.
but I guess from the comment earlier, I mean, if they get sent back to all the board members, but you can't comment on it again.
You can give Amanda your comments. You can give Aaron your comments. You can't discuss it with the board.
It won't be me because I'll be leaving on vacation and I'm gone for 2 weeks. So usually it's the board secretary that does it. So she can send or he can send it out and you can reply to him. So it's really not a time for a substantive debate because you all won't be able to talk as a group about adding things. But if you see like a wording issue, you know, that kind of more technical stuff, you could reply back to the secretary and have that corrected.
Grammatically, kind of
And
thing.
then the secretary corrects it, or the secretary comes back to me and Maureen to correct it. So
I believe the secretaries just corrected it and then sent it on its way to council.
Okay.
But we
Okay.
can change that.
And I don't know that it's parking count. It's parking in the front yard setback.
Yeah.
Yep.
Am I
It's
right?
landscape setback,
Landscape, if you want to be technical, yeah, landscape setback.
not building. Yeah.
I'm good with all that. I like it. Thank you,
Yeah,
guys.
we'll polish it, Andrew, Drew and
Okay, what do you have to tell us, Robbie? What's up?
Wait, are
Did
y'all
you have
done?
anything else, Drew, about
Oh,
side yard setbacks?
yeah. So the other item I had that from the last year is the combined side yard setback rules, where you have you know, an old house in front and then someone's putting an addition on the back, where the addition of the combined side yard setback is with the addition plus the front house. I guess I could go into detail on it if you guys are interested. in bringing this up or not.
Rule where they cross over, that weird rule where they,
Yeah, it's where they cross over, and it creates the variance request where often I feel like it could probably be administrative variance request when the new addition is in the shadow of the front house. I think the rule is supposed to prevent, kind of like the crisscross where the addition is kind of offset from the front house. But there's been a lot of variance requests related to this, and they usually get approved. So anyway, that was my other potential topic. But maybe
Rob-
this is too detailed.
Robbie, do you have a comment about that?
So it is the combined side, I call it the crisscross rule. The combined side yard setback, which is the combination of both setbacks needs to be no less than 15 feet. So like Drew said, if you've got a 5-foot setback, if you do an addition, the opposite setback has to be 10 feet. And that's in addition to the minimum setback requirements. So we do currently allow that to be done administrative as long as it hits that 20% threshold, which is the same for any variance. If it's 20% or less, staff can look at it. So is maybe a suggestion maybe to make it more more capability administratively, to make it not 20%, but maybe more, or just getting rid of the combined requirement. I mean, there's a lot of options that could be suggested.
Yeah, I mean, my idea was, if it's in the shadow of the front house, which I don't fully know the intention of that rule, but I believe that's the intention, is to avoid, the addition being offset.
So can I suggest what you're sort of leaning towards, Drew? This is really complicated to try to do in one meeting, and we have one shot at this because it was set up this year. And we're already 3 months into the year. So what if we, like they suggest, there are things that are in your work plan. We could do one sentence. If Robbie can help us craft something that's one sentence that, moving forward, we'd like to look at, and there'd have to be a way to say that, Robbie, so that it's efficient. Because it's really confusing otherwise. And if not, then we'd leave it out for now and pick it up, maybe each time we meet, kind of start working a little bit towards how to say it simply enough that they can understand it, and also point out the complexity, which means a layperson, there's no way for them to understand it.
It almost sounds like you want to maybe suggest more leniency on what is essentially a second setback requirement for the property, which is kind of punitive to really historic properties that have a lot of non-standard setbacks. They're closer than they should be, or they have smaller lots. So I definitely think that's a good topic to bring to their attention. What specifically they could or want to do with it, that's to be determined. But I mean, I like the idea of you bringing it up, because it is something that people ask a lot, which is, why are we required to do 2 setbacks? Why do we have 2 side yard setbacks, the combined and the minimum? So I actually think that's a really good topic.
So maybe we can say it about as simply as you said it. And people just say, people are asking why. I'm trying to help you, Maureen.
Thank you.
People are asking staff, why do we have 2 side yard setbacks? And what's the circumstance? So, and one is combined and one is the regular. Right. Right?
Correct. You've got the minimum, like 5 foot, for example. And then on top of that, you've got the combined, which is the 15 for both yards.
We'd like to see these rules simplified or made more clear.
I mean, I tend to think it's quite clear, actually. And then, I mean, I think it's both clear and simple currently. I just think
that
it creates, what?
Relax, the rules being to be relaxed or
You
something.
want them to be less punitive? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I mean, I'm trying to avoid administrative burden with the BOZA applications. Right? I'm trying to reduce the need for variance requests where they always get approved. That's basically what I'm coming from, is like, if it always gets approved, then why have, all this delay and cost for the applicant? So I think that's overarching is kind of my thinking, is like, okay, what applications do we always see? What always gets approved? Can we change rules to, avoid that application? And so maybe I kind of like what Robbie's getting at, is this maybe is a little too complicated to do right now. Maybe this is on our work plan, something that we can talk about over the coming year at some point, and have a little diagram next year that explains it better.
Why don't you just say simplified and handled by administration more routinely? And then.
Yep.
And then that, I think, gets at what you were trying to say. And is it staff or administration, Robbie?
Well, administrative, as we define it, it usually means a staff level.
Okay.
When we say administrative, so
So-
I guess it's just about wording.
Just by staff, okay,
By staff, administrative or by staff, yeah,
okay,
mean the same thing.
okay. So. That at least gets the door open. Since we know they don't always listen to us, it's sometimes good to just start bringing these topics up, and then maybe we can, like I said, think about it through the year. Okay. If that's okay, let's move on. Got a letter to work with there.
So Drew, we'll tackle this, I guess.
Sure.
I'll send you the link.
So I
We can-
think at this point, it sounds like Drew, it's going to be in your hands right now. But the next step is for you to forward it to Thomas, Amanda, and myself. Is that correct? And that's a question. I want to make sure I'm not misspeaking.
Well, I think that ties into the fact that this may be Maureen's last meeting. So I think you have to address that piece that you haven't shared with us. But Drew, based on the fact that it's possible that Maureen won't be here next time, can you handle finalizing this and getting it to Amanda and the team?
Sure. But it's due next Friday, right? So
That's,
Yes, we need to send it to them by next Friday.
I mean, if you think it's in good enough shape right now, send it to them, and if you guys want to clean up the grammar, do it.
I think it'll take another half an hour.
Next Friday is being the 22nd or this week?
Next Friday, the 22nd.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, are we good with that? It's going to Drew. Drew will take it on to Amanda. Because if that's, I'd like to close that matter and move on to approving the minutes and then finding out what else we need to know from staff. Sound good? Okay, can I have a motion to approve the minutes that I think everybody's reviewed now?
I make the motion to approve.
Thank you, Katie. Second.
Second,
All those in favor individually, please. Drew?
I wasn't there. So abstain.
Abstain, right. Marie,
hi.
Katie,
Aye.
and Jill, aye. So. The minutes are now approved from that. And we have matters from the attorney, if any.
I have no matters, and I'm going to sign off now because I have a childcare situation that I need to go deal with. But thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
And
Thanks,
I'll
Erin.
see you next month.
Robbie, what do we got? Take care, Aaron.
So not much, but it sounds like we definitely will be having an April meeting, 2 postponed items and a new item. So very likely we'll have items. And then regarding the Marine last meeting part, we're still kind of in limbo because I believe Thursday they make appointments for boards and commissions pending the snowstorm that's moving in apparently. But we'll know hopefully after Thursday. and correct me if I'm wrong, Amanda, we might know by as soon as Friday, what the status of, we had one interview for BOZA. And if they choose that person, then that person essentially is replacing Maureen. And this will be Maureen's last meeting. For some reason, if they do not choose this person, it kind of goes to we reach out to Maureen and say, would you like to stay on month to month until we can replace that? Or they'll open it back up at mid-year for new applications. So that's why I keep saying it's a big maybe if it's Maureen's last meeting, but we'll know after Thursday.
I mean, was the person qualified or we don't know?
They were qualified. I sat in, I didn't get to partake, but I did sit in on the interviews. So there was just one. So we'll know after Thursday because it's ultimately council's decision. And I have not heard anything beyond just knowing that this person's being considered.
Okay. Well, Maureen, I always like to say, because I might not see you except in some public setting after this, thank you for your service on the board.
Thank you.
Our team appreciated it. And if you're still here, great. And if you're not here, wish you the best.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I will provide an update as soon as I know. I promise you that. All of you.
Thank you. Are there any other matters from the board? Okay, by the way, I didn't say hi, Thomas. Hi, Thomas. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Jill. Nice to meet you as well.
All right, we good? May I adjourn the meeting?
Can I just ask, Robbie, what would be the date of that April meeting?
April 9th. It's an early one in April. So
Okay.
Tuesday, April 9th.
So I probably am gonna have to miss that, because my husband is having heart surgery the day before. So I expect to be in the hospital. If for some reason it goes super well, I may be able to sign on, but I'm probably not gonna be able to do that one.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, definitely focus on, your husband and the healing, but I will probably send out another, this is what we know about the April meeting. And at the end of it, I always ask if you have any anticipated absences, let us know. So I'll probably ask that again, but just feel free to respond to that email and let us know if it's, likely that you're going to be absent, and that's fine. That's understandable.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good whatever we have left here. I'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
All right. See y'all
Bye.
soon.
Bye.
Thank you.